because of the context of the report, they would not be able to discuss what was in the report until it was released. And so then they offered as the earliest date, which was available to our schedule, and what we were offering was June 6th. And on May 5th, it was confirmed.
The government confirming there that former Governor General David Johnston will face MPs in committee over his decision not to call a public inquiry into foreign elections meddling. Johnston wants to give party leaders the chance to take a top-secret look at the classified information that prompted his decision. The Bloc and Tories have rejected that offer, but NDP leader Jagmeet Singh plans to take him up on it and is requesting more members of his caucus be able to get a look at the documents. Let's bring in our front bench panel of former premiers to weigh in with us this evening. Former British Columbia Premier Christy Clark. She's now a senior advisor at Bennett Jones. Former Nova Scotia Premier Darrell Dexter. He's now vice chair of Global Public Affairs. And former Newfoundland and Labrador Premier Dwight Ball. He's now on the board of directors for the Canada Development Investment Corporation. Hi, everybody. Wonderful to see you on this Thursday evening. Darrell, I wanted to start with you. I feel like for so many weeks we have been talking about the decision coming from David Johnston, and I'm not sure anybody, including us in this group, foresaw that the decision would be not to pursue an inquiry. Did it take you by surprise this week, and are you at all surprised that there continues to be political blowback?
Yes, it did take me by surprise, and no, I'm not surprised that continues to be blowback. I think, you know, what David Johnston tried to do was to make a kind of non-political decision, not understanding that the context within which that decision was being made was entirely political. And, you know, the result is that this is going to be a story that's going to continue to play out to the detriment of the government now for weeks, if not months to come. If he proceeds with individual hearings of his own, those are just going to give additional legs to the story. He's going to appear before parliamentary committees. That's going to create yet, you know, more questions, and the spectacle of him being grilled by the opposition parties. This is, you know, for the opposition, this is just the gift that keeps on giving.
Which is why it kind of even continued to surprise me, Dwight, that though David Johnston came to that conclusion, the Prime Minister kind of heeded the recommendation, and even though he had the choice and could have said, despite all of this, I still feel, and I understand why an inquiry is necessary.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think, first of all, this is not about David Johnston and his ability, capabilities. You know, he's highly respected across the country for those of us that know him. So he's very capable to delivering a good report. And there are a number of things in the report that's a bit comforting. Unfortunately, this is all overshadowed by a relationship with the Prime Minister. So it's, as Darrell said, this is really good politics for opposition parties. It's not so good. It's not so good for the current government. So, and as a result of this, right now, that publicly they were never acclimatized to accept anything except a public inquiry into all of this. So you're right. The Prime Minister could have done this as well, but right now, I don't think anything that could ever come out of those public hearings would give anybody any degree of confidence and comfort in knowing that this could be delivered with any independent, from an independent perspective at all. So unfortunately, the outcome here is predetermined and is overshadowed by the relationship with the Prime Minister.
I sort of understand, based on the way that David Johnston laid it out, Christy, and I'm not saying it's justified, but I understand, based on his reasoning, why he arrived at the conclusion he did. But just like I was saying to Dwight, I feel like you could have easily predicted exactly what the opposition would say once the Prime Minister said, hey, he's right, we'll just proceed with what he said instead of an inquiry. And it is a bit perplexing why the people around him who have been doing this for years now maybe wouldn't have understood that either.
You mean the people around the Prime Minister wouldn't have understood that?
Yeah.
That's the part. Yeah.
Yeah, the politicos, yeah.
David Johnston isn't a political guy. He's a man of great integrity, and he's very smart. And he made a non-political decision, as Darrell pointed out. And it's the job of the Prime Minister to make not just the right political call, but also the right policy call. And, the thing about a public inquiry is it would answer two really important questions. And I think the health of our democracy is probably the most important question that we should be asking right now. We all go to the polls because we want to enjoy the right to choose our own representatives. To imagine or to know that foreign governments are interfering in that, I think is a really important question to understand and grapple with. And then second, what's going on with CSIS? They don't seem to be connected to government, to the RCMP. There's all kinds of gaps and holes in the work that they do. Those questions will be best answered by a public inquiry. So put aside the dumb political decision that I think the Prime Minister's made. There is a very compelling public policy reason for there to be a full public inquiry on these questions.
Well, it's interesting too, Daryl, because those are the two things that kind of came out of Mr. Johnston's report, right? Massive failures in communication in the system that kind of underpins national security, and there is a serious threat posed by foreign interference. The third thing he concluded was there's no malfeasance on the part of the Prime Minister or other ministers. They're not willfully ignoring this stuff, but there is a problem that the stuff doesn't get to their desk. So it does, like, I understand why people say maybe an inquiry won't get to the bottom of everything, but the two questions Christy raises are ones that the Johnston report even kind of underscore.
Oh, absolutely. And I was struck when I read the conclusions when he said, you know, there's undoubtedly foreign interference going on in Canada, and that it is necessary for us to put in place a plan to deter and to counter the misinformation that is coming from foreign governments. And, you know, I've yet to see, maybe these questions are being asked, but I've yet to see the government come forward to say, look, in addition to all the rest of the things, we actually have a plan now to deal with this. That you know, here are the steps that we're going to take over the coming months and years to ensure that our democracy is intact, and that to the extent that it is possible in the world we live in today, that we are going to defend the rights of Canadians to participate fairly in their own democracy.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair to them, they talk a lot about what they've done so far, which isn't nothing. They have put in place various committees. But I think the point is that what they have done so far didn't necessarily reassure Canadians once these headlines started coming out. Dwight, the opposition leaders, other than Jagmeet, are saying we don't want the classified briefing in order to know exactly what David Johnston based his conclusions on, because it will prevent us from being able to question the Prime Minister on these issues. There's obviously a political calculation there as well. Do you think that's the right call on their part?
Well, first of all, I think if there was a call for a public inquiry, what it would have done for, you know, David Johnston, it would have validated many of the recommendations that he made. So there was a validation that the public inquiry that would actually do that for Mr. Johnston if the Prime Minister had indeed stepped in here. But from the opposition, this was really predictable. We all saw this coming, and as Christy said, you know, anyone close to the Prime Minister would have expected what the opposition response. And so clearly not agreeing to get the necessary security clearances to review the documents, to me what that just says is that they're very content just to continue on in their blissful ignorance and take advantage of this situation for the weeks to come. And as Daryl said, this is the gift that keeps on giving, you know, for the opposition parties, but they're just willing to continue on in their merry way and take shots at the Prime Minister, all intended to destroy the trust, you know, in our government leaders. So this is what this is all about. This is the difference between governing and in opposition. This is the difference between wanting to put in place proper policy versus taking the political advantage. That is exactly, this is playing out exactly as anticipated a long time ago.
Christy, last word to you on that. Do you think they're making the right or wrong call refusing those briefings?
Yeah, I think they're making the right call politically because whenever government says to you, look, we'll tell you something, but you got to keep it a secret. When you're in the opposition, it is your job not to keep secrets for the government. And if they're under a gag order, I guess we don't really know how much of what the government might tell them would be something that actually does need to be kept secret. So I think it's expected. I think it's prudent probably for them to do so. And, I should say, when I was in government, we didn't want to have any public inquiries either. They're very, very uncomfortable for governments. But I think in this case in particular, because of the threat to our democracy, it is absolutely necessary.
Okay, I'm going to take a quick commercial.